Hello, my name's Sammy, aka Fortune Boy, and that was Fingerstyle First-day number 1. This is my brand new series, Fingerstyle First-days, and essentially it's a series made for people who are looking to get into fingerstyle and want some nice, easy pieces to practice. There will be 10 pieces in total. I'll be releasing these videos every 2 weeks. And the pieces are in order of difficulty. So Fingerstyle First-day number 1, today's piece, will be the easiest of our pieces. And by the time of number 10, we'll have pushed through to some harder things. This is essentially a prequel to my series Fingerstyle First-days, which was the same concept, me writing small little fingerstyle pieces for you to learn so you could train your theory and your fingerstyle. But I realized that over the years that actually I wanted something that was even more accessible for people who don't know anything about fingerstyle whatsoever and wanted some nice, easy pieces to practice. And so that's what we're going to do. I'll be teaching you the whole piece in this video, but I've also made you a free tab score download that should be pinned in the comments. So please feel free to get that. And please grab your ukulele. We're in high G tuning. The download also includes a couple of MP3s, so you can listen to the piece and you can listen to it a bit slower. Now, you can hear that I had backing with my first piece, so if you'd rather listen to it just with the ukulele alone, that is also available at the end of this video. Please just check the chapters and you can skip straight to that. So once you've grabbed your ukulele and grab the PDF, let's go learn Fingerstyle First-day number 1. So just before we sit down and learn the piece, I'd like to have a little bit of theory babble time. So this piece is in the key of A minor, so it's important that we have an A minor chord and we have an A minor scale. Now an A minor chord is made of 3 notes, A, C, and E, and actually we have that on the ukulele quite easily. I have A, I have C, and I have E. So actually just those 3 strings give me an A minor chord. That is my job done. This leaves my G string free, and so essentially what I'm going to do on the G string is I'm essentially playing all my melody notes using the A minor scale. Now, if you're not familiar with your A minor scale on the G string, it's the following frets. We play fret 2, fret 4, fret 5, fret 7, fret 9, fret 10, fret 12, and then fret 14. Now, fret 12 and the open are the same notes, so you could use an open instead of the 12 if you prefer. So you could actually also go 2, 4, 5, 7, 9, 10, open, and then back to 2. So all I've done in this piece is smash those 2 things together, and voila, I have a lovely fingerstyle piece in A minor. Now, if any of that went over your head and you'd like to know more about your chords and your scales and how the theory actually works in the ukulele, then you can check out my Fundamental Theory course. It's essentially a 5-week course that teaches you how music theory works on the ukulele. So if you're ukulele player and you don't know any theory, that's how you want to learn it. Check the link out in the pinned comment, and if you use the code FIRST, then you'll also get a cheeky little discount. Well done you. Right, so let's break down our piece. Now we're only going to be fretting the G string. That's the only string we're actually going to be putting any left hand on. And actually, I only play this piece with one of my fingers on the left hand, and I use my middle finger. That's the only finger I use. Now you can use as many fingers as you want, but you could simply pick one of your fingers and just literally leave it on the G string for most of this piece, and we're just going to be moving up and down. So, like I said, I'm going to be using my middle finger, but you have a play around and see whichever you prefer. So if we look at our first bar, we're going to go to the 9th fret on the G string. And like I said, I'm going to play that with my middle finger. Now, the fingerstyle pattern that's happening here is essentially we're going to start off with our E string. So I just want you to pluck with your thumb the E string. And then I want you to pluck the A string straight after. Now, I don't want you to use your thumb for the A string. I would like you to either use your index finger or your middle finger. For me, I'm going to be using my middle finger for the A string, but you can use whichever one you want. Just try and use your thumb for the E string, and then either your middle or index to pluck that open A string. So we pluck open E with our thumb, open A with our middle finger, and then we're going to go to our G string and pluck it with our thumb, and then pluck our A string with our middle finger again. So we pluck E, A, G, A. And then we just need to pluck this G, A 2 more times. So G, A, G, A. So altogether, our first bar and our pattern is E, A, G, A, G, A, G, A. And if you want to count that, they're just 8th notes. So we are just going 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and that way you know that you're end of the bar. And again, right hand wise, if you look closely, I'm using my thumb to pluck the E string, my middle finger to pluck the A, but you can use your index, thumb to pluck the G, and then A for the middle, G, thumb, A middle, G, thumb, A middle. So essentially with this piece, what I'm trying to get you to do is using your thumb and moving comfortably between the E string and G string. We're also going to include the C string later on. So essentially thumb travel between these strings is very, very important. And essentially it means after every thumb pluck, you're going to pluck the A string. So we're always going thumb, finger, thumb, finger, thumb, finger, thumb, finger at all times. So for our next bar, we're going to do exactly the same, but we're just going to move down to the 4th fret on the G string. And like I said, I'm going to keep using my middle finger. I'm not going to take any pressure off. I'm just literally going to move it down to the 4th fret. And we're going to play the same pattern. So we pluck E with our thumb, A with my middle finger, G with my thumb, A with my middle finger, G with my thumb, A middle, G thumb, A middle. So same pattern that we just plucked. E, A, G, A, G, A, G, A. Now for our next bar, we're going to do pretty much exactly the same thing again, but we're going to take our G string to the 10th fret. And again, I'm not changing fingers, but if you'd like to, that's no problem. So let's use that same picking pattern. E, A, G, A, G, A, G, A. And then for my final bar of this line, we're just going to move down back to the 9th fret. So I only have to move down 1 fret to the G string. And I'm going to pluck E, A, G, A, G, A, G, A. Again. Right, so that picking pattern that we're doing every single bar is essentially like the anchor. It's the main theme of what's going on in this piece, okay? So that's all we've got to practice is that E, A, G, A, G, A, G, A. And then we're going to use that throughout the piece. So altogether, our first line should sound like this. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 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 3 and 4 and. So that's our first line done. Now for our second line, we're going to keep up the same idea. So the right hand picking pattern will stay the same. It's just the G string that's going to change. So we're going to go to the 9th fret on the G string again, and we're going to pluck the same pattern. E, A, G, A, G, A, G, A. And then for our next bar, we're still moving down to the 4th fret on the G string, and we're going to pluck the same things. E, A, G, A, G, A, G, A. Now, last time we went up to the 10th fret. Actually, this time we're just going to play the open. And again, because the open is part of our A minor scale, all of these notes, if you noticed, are all from our A minor scale. So I'm going to use the open. So just make sure you're still supporting your ukulele neck a little bit. If you have your index finger here, I always call this little part of your index finger the thigh of your finger. So just make sure the thigh of your finger is kind of supporting it there, just so we've got something there. If you're wearing a strap also, that's an easy way to do it. So same pattern, but just all open strings this time. E, A, G, A, G, A, G, A. And then finally, we're going to go to the G string on the 2nd fret. So it very much looks like we're playing an A minor chord. Same pattern. E, A, G, A, G, A, G, A. So our second line should sound like this. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 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 3 and 4 and. Now that's our first 2 lines done, and if we add those 2 lines together, what I'm essentially calling that is the A section of the piece, okay? So those 8 bars are our A section. So all I'm going to do is play that A section, all the 8 bars, and again, let's just follow the tab from our PDF download. So let's play the whole A section. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 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 3 and 4 and next line 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now that's our A section complete, and at the very end of that line we have a funny little marker. There's basically like a thick black line with 2 little dots, and that is essentially a repeat in music. It's a repeat marker. So the first 2 lines we actually have to play again. So that just means for the piece we play bars 1 to 8, and then you have to play them literally exactly again before we move to our next section, which is the B section. So once you've played line 1, and then line 2, and then line 1, and then line 2, we get to line 3. Now, in all honesty, line 3 is not that different, but with one giant difference. And that is we're not going to pluck the E string to start with our pattern. We're actually going to pluck the C string instead. So if we start from our 3rd line, I'm still going to be on the 9th fret of the G string. And I'm going to play the exact same pattern, but like I said, we're just going to pluck a C string at the start rather than an E string. So my new pattern is C, A, G, A, G, A, G, A. And even though realistically I'm just playing the same pattern, you can hear what a difference it makes because I've changed that bass note from an E to a C. So for our next bar, we're going to go down to the 4th fret of the G string, and we're going to keep this new pattern with the C string. So we go C, A, G, A, G, A, G, A. Just like before, we're actually going to go up to the 10th fret next. C, A, G, A, G, A, G, A. And then all we're going to do is move down to the 7th fret on the G string and still play the same pattern. C, A, G, A, G, A, G, A. Now I'm calling this the B section, and it's basically because we have a different bass note underneath it. We have this C note, and you can hear in the music there's a big change despite it just being one note. But essentially, the floor of our harmony is completely changed. So in this piece, anytime you think of the A section, we're always starting with the E string. And anytime we think about the B section, we're starting with the C string. So let's play the whole B section, and then on the sheet is bars 9, 10, 11, and 12. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 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 3 and 4 and. So there we have it. That's that B section complete, okay? So we've played an A section, and we have to repeat that. So we play it twice, and then we had those 4 bars that were our B section. So after this, we're just going to go back to our A section. So if you look at your PDF, lines 4 and 5, we have a little A, and it's going to be exactly the same as lines 1 and 2. No different whatsoever, so we've just learnt them, so you don't need to listen to me repeat myself. So that means we play our A section, lines 1 and 2, and then we repeat that, so we play lines 1 and 2. Then we play our third line, the B section. Then we go to our fourth line and fifth line, which is the A section again. And we have to, there's a repeat with those, so we have to play lines 4, 5, 4, and then 5 again. So for line 6, we're back to our B section, but this time it's twice as long. It's not just 4 bars, it's 8 bars, and the last 4 bars are a little bit different. So let's go talk about those. So the start of the B section is no different than before. That means we're going to pluck our C string, and we're still going to start on fret 9 on the G string. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... And then afterwards, I still go down to the 4th fret on my G string. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Then still up to the 10th fret. And then still down to the 7th, just like last time. 7th fret G string, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... But we're not done with our B section yet. So we're going to go back up to our 9th fret in the G string and keep the B pattern, which is C, A, G, A, G, A, G, A. We then move down to the 4th fret and play our same pattern. C, A, G, A, G, A, G, A. Then we're going to move up to our 5th fret, so only 1 fret higher. And again, we haven't played the 5th fret yet, but if you look back to your A minor scale, you can find all these notes there. So let's play the same pattern. C, A, G, A, G, A, G, A. And then finally, we're just going to move up to the 7th fret. C, A, G, A, G, A, G, A. So our second B section is twice as long as our original B section. So I'm going to play what is lines 6 and 7 on the sheet, and that is our new B section. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 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 3 and 4 and... So that's our first page done. Well done. That's lines 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's a lot of bars, more bars than my maths wants to do right now. Now, the last thing that we have to play is we're going to play our A section again. The only difference here is we're not going to repeat it. And also the last bar, we're going to finish basically a little bit early. So let's recap our A section. So on the sheet, this will be on the second page. So I'm on the 9th fret of the G string again. We're going to go back to our A pattern, which is the E, A pattern. So first bar is E, A, G, A, G, A, G, A. I move down to my 4th fret. E, A, G, A, G, A, G, A. Up to my 10th. And then back down to my 9 again. E, A, G, G, A, G, A. And the second line is going to be the same as what the A section was before, but just recap that. So we're on the 9th fret of the G string. E, A, G, A, G, A, G, A. We then travel down to the 4th fret on the G string. E, A, G, A, G, A, G, A. We then open it up, so we have an open G string. Just remember, just to support your uke somehow. E, A, G, A, G, A, G, A. And then we'll be returning to the 2nd fret, but we're just going to finish it a little bit earlier. So we're just going to go E, A, G, A, G, and hold that note there. Now, counting-wise, that means that last bar ends on the 3. 1 and 2 and 3. So if we just play that last A section together, 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 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 3 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3. And that's it. That's our whole piece. Fingerstyle First Day number 1. Now, whenever we're practicing, there's a couple of things that I constantly have to repeat as a teacher, but I think are worthwhile noting down. And first of all, the BPM for this piece is 124 BPM. That's how fast I'm playing it when you listen to these videos. But in all honesty, I don't care about speed. What I care about is that everything is nice and even and you're playing it essentially as stress-free as possible. So please play these pieces as fast or as slow as you need to, okay? Like I said, it says 124 BPM, but you don't have to aim to play it that fast. I just want you to sit, exercise, and just make some nice sounds. And really, when we're doing fingerstyle, the main thing is trying to break our right hand into the muscle memory of the pattern. So don't try and tackle all this piece at once. Get your right hand just literally used to going E, A, G, A, G, A, G, A, and then stop. And then try that again. E, A, G, A, G, A, G, A, and then stop again. And then when you're comfortable with that, try that twice in a row. And then when you get comfortable with that, try it 4 times in a row. Just try and kind of cut it off. And that's how our muscle memory learns best. So play it once, stop, do that a couple of times. Play it twice, stop, do that a couple of times. Play it 4 times in a row, stop. If you can get it 4 times, you've got it. Any questions or advice you need for this piece, then please just comment below. I'm always happy to literally answer any comments, no matter what they are. So please, any questions or any queries, anything that doesn't add up to you, just ask them below and I'll answer. So there we have it. That was piece number 1 from my brand new series, Fingerstyle First-days. Every 2 weeks, we'll be talking about the next piece and I'll be teaching it here. So please make sure you're subscribed if you don't want to miss that. And again, if you want to hear the piece that's just played on ukulele without the backing, it's available right after I shut up talking. So just use the chapters and then you can listen to it as much as you like. Well, thanks for joining me for lesson number 1. Have a great day and I'll leave it to Ukulele Sammy. See you soon.